Welcome friends. Today we'll be starting with the third chapter of 10th, and that is chemical reactions and equations. See, the chapter is very important for the point of view of SSC as well as HSC. If you take opt for science, then many things we learn in this chapter. Especially for the first time we'll learn how we balance a chemical equation, how we first write a chemical equation and how we balance a chemical equation. See, many of you may have learned all the chemical formulas, right? Some may not have even learned them, but the most important thing is to learn the chemical formula of each and every compound. Without knowing these formulas, we are not able to understand or write a chemical equation. Okay, now what is a chemical equation? See, chemical equation is a brief representation of a chemical reaction. Okay, and to write a chemical equation we require the formulas, chemical formulas of the substances as well as their symbols. So if you know the symbols and chemical formulas, then only we will be able to write the chemical equations. Now in this chapter we'll talk about the writing of chemical equations and the types of chemical reactions. So to begin with, what is meant by chemical reaction? See, in a 9th standard, okay, we have understood what is a molecule, how a compound is formed. Okay, when two or more atoms chemically react in fixed proportion, we get a compound, and the smallest element of compound is called as molecule. Okay, we know how sodium chloride molecule is formed. Similarly, how a covalent bond, ionic bond, all these things we have understood. Now, first of all, let us understand what is meant by chemical reaction. See, scientists have said that after experimenting, scientists from the 18th and 19th century, they have come to a conclusion that when a chemical reaction takes place, the chemical composition of a substance, the chemical composition of the substance or the matter changes. And when a physical change takes place, there is only the change in physical properties. Now physical properties means what? The volume, density, color, state of matter, all these are called as physical properties. So when physical properties change, the change is a physical change. But when the chemical composition of a matter changes, we call it as a chemical change. And a chemical reaction involves a chemical change. During a chemical reaction, there is breaking up of bonds as well as formation of new bonds. As a result, the original substances may not be seen, and a new substance may come in picture. So some 3-4 points you have to understand about chemical reaction. See, a chemical reaction involves a chemical change, and in a chemical change, first thing, the composition of matter changes. Okay, second is the physical as well as chemical properties of the substance change. Third, the change is irreversible. Irreversible means what? We cannot get back the original substance. And fourth, the new substance is formed in a chemical change. Okay, so these points you remember in a chemical reaction. Now before I explain you about physical change, I will give you some examples of chemical change or chemical reaction. The best example I can say is ripening of fruits. Okay, ripening of fruits, you know, raw mango and ripe mango. Okay, you know, color and taste of raw mango, color, taste of ripe mango, both are different, na? Raw mango turns into ripe mango because of chemical change. Okay, but we cannot get back a raw mango from ripe mango. Similarly, milk undergoes chemical reaction when a small amount of curd is added to it. And what is the final product? We get curd. So milk turns into curd by chemical reaction. Digestion of food is an example of chemical reaction. Okay, the metabolism which is happening in our body, which leads to our growth, is also a chemical change. Then whenever you light a matchstick, the matchstick undergoes a chemical reaction due to the chemicals on the surface of the matchbox and the matchstick, and this reaction is nothing but a chemical change. Once a change takes place, we cannot get back the original substance. Combustion, burning of any substance is also a chemical change. So many more examples I can give you, but these are sufficient to make you understand what is a chemical change. Now let's talk about physical change. First I will start with the examples and then I will explain the physical changes. See, you have seen a bulb with a tungsten filament inside it. A bulb with a tungsten filament. The color of tungsten filament is greyish black. But when you light the bulb, it glows bright. The color of the filament changes. Put off the bulb, again it turns greyish black. That change is a physical change. Okay. Second, when you heat ice, it melts into water. Cool water, again we get ice. Water on heating turns into steam. On cooling steam we get again water. Here the state of water is changing from solid to liquid, liquid to gas, but the composition will remain same. That is a physical change. Naphthalene balls. Naphthalene balls you have seen. In Hindi we call it as damar ki goli. These naphthalene balls are kept in cupboards to repel insects, cockroaches, etc. Now these naphthalene balls are white colored balls whose size goes on decreasing with time because they lead to sublimation. Sublimation is a process in which the particles from solid turn into gaseous state. That change is also a physical change. Iron nails get magnetized. Okay, iron nails get magnetized when you bring it near a magnet. I'll put a small video of this. You can watch it. And the moment you remove the magnet, the iron nails or the pins lose their magnetism. All these are examples of physical changes. Now in physical change, 4 things can be considered. First, the composition of matter doesn't change. Second, the state of matter or color or density, etc. may change. No new substance is formed in physical change. Okay, and the change is reversible. Okay, we can get back the original substance easily. So in physical change, composition doesn't change, only the state of matter or sometimes color may change, and no new substance is formed, and the change is reversible. And all the examples which I told you, these are examples of what? Physical change. Now we'll see these points on the board and once again recap it. So look at the board. A chemical reaction involves a chemical change. Understand this. When we talk about chemical reactions, it will involve a chemical change. The composition of matter changes, the physical and chemical properties of the substance change. The change is irreversible, right? The new substance is formed in a chemical change. And examples I already told you. Now in a physical change, the composition of matter doesn't change. State of matter, color, density, volume may change. No new substance is formed and the change is reversible. This is a basic difference I can give between a chemical change and a physical change. Okay? Friends, before we move on to the next topic, let us understand some chemical reactions. These reactions are mentioned in the textbook and they are asking you to find the final product, what reaction takes place. Actually these experiments you have to do in laboratory and you have to find the final conclusion. Simply reading the textbook and getting the answer is not enough. So it depends on your practicals, school practicals, whether they perform these experiments or not. And the table which they have mentioned has to be filled up. What is done in this experiment? There is a bowl in which we take the chemical, the compound, and we heat it on a Bunsen burner. Okay, and we observe what changes that take place inside in the compound. Okay, and the observations are recorded in the table. So instead of drawing a table and explaining you, I will explain you each reaction separately, okay, and you can easily understand the chemical reaction. So let's start. See, now the first observation is for limestone. Limestone is taken in a bowl and kept on a Bunsen burner. This is a wire gauze, this is a burner. On heating limestone, what happens? Here, limestone, that is calcium carbonate, CaCO3, it undergoes a decomposition reaction. Decomposition reaction means what? It breaks up into two compounds. One is calcium oxide and second is a gas, that is carbon dioxide gas. So when limestone is heated, what we obtain is calcium oxide and carbon dioxide gas is liberated. Okay, that's our first observation. Now in the second observation, what is done? We have taken a copper sulfate solution, okay, which is blue in color. What is copper sulfate solution? Copper sulfate crystals, when dissolved in water, we get copper sulfate solution, and zinc powder is added to it. Here again a chemical reaction takes place and zinc sulfate is formed and copper gets displaced. Okay, copper will get removed, and here the color of solution changes from blue to colorless. Okay, initially the solution is blue, but when zinc sulfate solution is formed, it is colorless. Third, there is a compound called potassium chromate. It is reacted with barium sulfate. Both these solutions are mixed together. Potassium chromate is yellow, barium sulfate is white in color. Okay, and when a reaction takes place, we get a yellow colored precipitate. What is meaning of precipitate? A precipitate is an insoluble substance. Getting it? Something which is not soluble in water is called as precipitate. We get a yellow precipitate and potassium sulfate solution. So this is a change which we observe. That is third one. Fourth one, sodium carbonate and calcium chloride are mixed. Solution of sodium carbonate and calcium chloride are mixed together. What we obtain? We get a precipitate of calcium carbonate. Okay, calcium carbonate precipitate. Once again precipitate is formed and sodium chloride solution is formed. Okay, so this is the observation. In these two cases, precipitates are formed. Here gas is liberated and here the color of solution changes from blue to colorless. Now last is phthalic anhydride. Okay, now phthalic anhydride melts on heating to form a corrosive liquid. Understood? When you heat phthalic anhydride, it undergoes melting and it reacts with actually oxygen and to form a corrosive liquid. So these are the five changes we observe when we heat these compounds: limestone, mixture of zinc plus copper sulfate, potassium chromate plus barium sulfate, sodium carbonate and calcium chloride, and phthalic anhydride. Okay. Of these five equations, the first four can be considered as a chemical change. Okay, because some new substances are formed, except this phthalic anhydride, which melts. Okay, here change of state is there, so I will write this as physical change. Okay, now in all this there is one reaction in which gas is liberated, and that is the first one. In the first one, gas is liberated. Okay, in the second there is change in color. In the third also there is change in color. Okay, and precipitate is formed in these two reactions. Okay, the second, third and fourth. So these are the five chemical reactions, and accordingly you have to fill the table in the textbook. Now from these five reactions, we try to understand what is a chemical reaction. See, in a chemical reaction, breaking up of bonds take place, okay, and formation of new bonds takes place. Now breaking up of bonds leads to formation of new substances. Getting it? Now, a chemical reaction involves conversion of a substance into a new substance, and that's why the original substance will be called as reactant, and the final substance, new substance formed, will be called as product. So in short, a chemical reaction is a conversion of reactant into product. Understanding? In simple words, I'm telling you, a chemical reaction is a conversion of reactant into product. Now, what is a chemical equation? Okay, a chemical equation is a brief representation or symbolic representation of a chemical reaction, making use of symbols and formula for reactants and products. Okay, now for writing a chemical equation, we'll take one example. We'll consider the example of zinc powder, which is put in copper sulfate solution. Okay, how in words we can write this equation and how we can write the same equation in using a chemical equation. Let's see on the board. Now let's write a chemical equation, and we have taken an example of zinc powder, which is added to aqueous copper sulfate, and the product is aqueous zinc sulfate and copper. Now first of all, the rule you understand, the original compounds or substances will be always written on the left hand side, and the new products are written on the right hand side. Okay, now here what is the reaction? We have got solid zinc powder which is added to aqueous copper sulfate. The color of the aqueous copper sulfate solution was blue. When the chemical reaction takes place, it turns into aqueous zinc sulfate, which is colorless. Okay, and we also get copper in solid form. Okay, so the reactants, what are the reactants? Zinc and copper sulfate, aqueous copper sulfate are the reactants. Aqueous zinc sulfate and copper are the products. Now we will write the chemical equation over here, and first of all, zinc powder, symbol for zinc is Zn, copper sulfate plus CuSO4, okay, which gives aqueous zinc sulfate. Zinc sulfate is ZnSO4 plus copper. Okay, now what is missing here? See, the direction in which the chemical reaction has been proceeded is towards what? Zinc sulfate and copper. So the arrow will be pointing towards the products. Now zinc is in solid state, so I will write here S. Copper sulfate is dissolved in water, that is called as aqueous state, so I'll put AQ over here. Okay, it's a solution, copper sulfate solution. In the product, what we get? Zinc sulfate in aqueous state, so I'll write AQ. Okay, and copper is in solid state. So the reaction, if I say in words, it will be the zinc powder added to aqueous copper sulfate solution gives aqueous zinc sulfate solution and copper in solid form. But the same thing I can write in a very short manner. Okay, and this is nothing but a chemical equation. As I discussed, chemical equation is a symbolic representation of a chemical reaction, making use of chemical formulas and symbols for reactants and products. This is nothing but our chemical equation. Understood? Now some more things you can add here, like copper sulfate solution was blue, so you can mention here it was blue, and then it turned into what? Colorless. This is one example I have taken to make you understand how we write a chemical equation. Now let us understand the requirements for writing a chemical equation. What are the steps required for writing a chemical equation? Understand the steps for writing a chemical equation. See, I will take the example of the reaction I just now discussed. Zinc plus copper sulfate gives zinc sulfate plus copper. Okay, the first step we understand is that the reactants should be written on left hand side and products on right hand side. That means the formula and symbols of reactants will be on left hand side and of those of products will be on right hand side. And secondly, an arrow should point towards what? Towards the products. Between the reactants and the products there should be an arrow, and the arrow should be pointing towards the products. The arrow actually is showing you the direction in which the reaction is proceeding. Okay, so these 2 points you understand. First, that's the first step. You should write the formulas and symbols of reactants on the left hand side and products on the right hand side. Okay, and secondly, an arrow should be put pointing towards the products. Okay. Second, where 2 or more reactants are there or 2 or more products are there, okay, we put a plus sign to separate them. We will not put and, or, comma or any other mathematical symbols. We will only put symbol plus. Okay, so the 2 or more reactants or 2 or more products are separated by what? A plus sign. Okay, plus symbol is used to separate 2 or more reactants or products. Okay, that's the second step. Now third step is to mention the physical states of all the reactants as well as products. Means whether the substance is in solid state, liquid state or gaseous state. Okay, accordingly you should write a subscript. Like zinc is in solid state, so I'll write S over here. Copper is in also solid state, so I'll put S over here. Okay, similarly, if a substance is dissolved in water, we get a solution. Okay, and a solution of a substance in water is written in AQ, aqueous. Okay, we put AQ when a substance is in dissolved state in water. Copper sulfate was in aqueous state, so I'll put AQ over here. Zinc sulfate is also in aqueous state, so I'll put AQ over here. Okay, so AQ indicates a substance in dissolved in water or solution of the substance in water. One more thing, if in the products a gas is liberated, okay, then we'll put a upward pointing arrow beside the formula. Suppose in example, if carbon dioxide gas is liberated, then I can write CO2 with an upward pointing arrow. So whenever gas is liberated in products, we should put an upward pointing arrow beside it. Similarly, in the products, if we get an insoluble substance, something which is not soluble in water, it is called as precipitate. It is called as precipitate. So beside that particular formula, okay, we have to put a downward pointing arrow. A downward pointing arrow is put to indicate what? A precipitate, PPT. And upward pointing arrow is put indicate liberation of a gas. So this is the third point. I repeat, the states of matter of all the reactants and products should be mentioned, whether it's in solid state, liquid state or gaseous state. If a substance is in dissolved state in water, it is called as solution, and it is also called as aqueous solution. Aqua means water. Aqueous solution means something dissolved in water. So in that case, we put a AQ sign, AQ symbol as a subscript. Okay. So copper sulfate is in aqueous state, zinc sulfate is in aqueous state. If a gas is liberated, we put a upward pointing arrow beside the formula. And if a insoluble substance is obtained, we put a downward pointing arrow next to that formula. Okay. Now fourth, if heat is supplied for carrying out a reaction, then accordingly we put a triangle sign above the arrow, like calcium carbonate on strong heating gives calcium oxide and carbon dioxide gas. Okay. Over here, the reaction cannot be completed without supplying heat, and since heat is supplied, I will put a triangle above the arrow which is separating the reactants from products. So a triangle is put where heat is supplied. Okay. Now if heat is given out, then also we have to mention it, like in this example. Okay, zinc reacts with copper sulfate to give zinc sulfate and copper. Here some heat is liberated, so I have to mention here with liberation of heat. Okay, so this should also be mentioned in the chemical equation. The regular symbols and the things will come. This is solid, this is aqueous, and this is also solid. These things you have to mention, but at the same time, if heat is given out, then you should mention here plus heat. If heat is supplied, then we put a triangle above the arrow. Now, sometimes the chemical reaction takes place under certain conditions of temperature or pressure or in presence of catalyst. If such conditions are there, then they should be mentioned, right? Now, vegetable oils, we all know, vegetable oils used for cooking, they can be converted into vanaspati ghee, or in local language we call it as dalda. Okay, your parents may be knowing it, you may not heard about it, but in market a cheap substitute of ghee, cow ghee, is available, and it is called as vanaspati ghee or dalda, and it is prepared by reaction of hydrogen on vegetable oil. Now in this reaction, the temperature has to be maintained at 60 degrees Celsius and a catalyst is added to enhance the chemical reaction. So these things have to be mentioned in a chemical reaction. They are the special conditions which have to be mentioned for carrying out the chemical reactions. I repeat once again, sometimes certain necessary conditions like temperature, pressure, catalyst are required to carry out a chemical reaction, and they have to be mentioned in the chemical equation. And when vegetable oil is reacted with hydrogen, we get vanaspati ghee, but the conditions are that temperature should be maintained at 60 degrees Celsius and nickel is used as a catalyst. Now, sixth, sometimes special info or names of reactants and products have to be mentioned in the chemical reaction. Why? Because simply by looking at the formula, we can't decide whether it's a concentrated reactant or a dilute one. So this information has to be mentioned. Like in this example, I'm explaining you two reactions of copper with nitric acid. One is with concentrated nitric acid and other is with what? Dilute nitric acid. In the first reaction, copper reacts with concentrated nitric acid, and what we get is copper nitrate, nitrogen dioxide gas, which is reddish poisonous gas, and water. Okay, so I have mentioned here it is concentrated nitric acid, and this gas, reddish colored gas, which is nitrogen dioxide gas, is obtained. Now if the same reaction is carried out, but using dilute nitric acid, then the product is different. Here, when dilute nitric acid is used, okay, 3Cu plus 8HNO3, and below it I have mentioned here it is dilute. What we get is copper nitrate, okay, and nitric oxide gas along with water. So the difference in both the examples is that in one reaction concentrated nitric acid was used, and what we obtained was nitrogen dioxide gas. But in the second, when dilute nitric acid was used, what we obtain is simply nitric oxide. Okay, so this is the sixth point I want to tell you while writing a chemical equation. Sometimes there is a need to mention the names of the reactants, the concentration, whether it's dilute or concentrated, and also the names of the products. Like here, it is a reddish colored nitrogen dioxide gas, and in this case, it is nitric oxide gas. So these are the steps which are required or which are followed while writing a chemical equation. The most important step I will teach you after this, and that is what? Balancing of chemical equation. Okay. Let's understand an experiment which consists of two aqueous solutions. One is aqueous sodium chloride and one is aqueous silver nitrate. Okay. Now aqueous means what? Dissolved in water. Okay. So I got two solutions. One is aqueous sodium chloride and one is aqueous silver nitrate. Okay. And I take this aqueous sodium chloride in a conical flask. Okay. Inside this conical flask there is a test tube which is containing the aqueous silver nitrate. This is what? Silver nitrate, AgNO3. Understood? And this conical flask is fitted with a cork so that the chemical will not spill out when it is turned or tilted. Now, before the experiment starts or before the chemical reaction starts, I'll keep this on a weighing balance, okay, digital weighing balance, and I will measure the weight. The mass of this comes out to be 300.3 grams. Now I hold the conical flask in my hand and I tilt it. The moment I tilt it, the liquid from the test tube will spill out and it will mix with the aqueous solution of sodium chloride. Now I again make it erect and wait for the chemical reaction to happen, and then again I place it on a weighing machine. Now some changes are seen. When aqueous sodium chloride and aqueous silver nitrate are mixed, we get a white precipitate of silver chloride which can be seen inside this conical flask. Okay, so in the textbook they have asked certain questions. What changes you see? The first change is that you can see the precipitate. And what is the color of precipitate? It's a white precipitate, and that is of what? Silver chloride. Okay. Is there any change in mass? Now initially the mass is 300.3 grams and now again it is 300.3 grams. So there is no change in mass. Okay. The mass before reaction and mass after reaction is same. Okay. Now the reaction has taken place, a new product is formed. We have to write this reaction using a chemical equation. How will we write this? Look at the board. First I will write the reaction in words. So I will write aqueous solution of sodium chloride reacts with, okay, aqueous solution of silver nitrate to give a precipitate of silver chloride, okay, silver chloride along with sodium nitrate solution. Here I have written the chemical reaction in words. Okay, this is how I write the chemical reaction in words. Aqueous solution of sodium chloride reacts with aqueous solution of silver nitrate to give precipitate of silver chloride and sodium nitrate solution. Now I'll write this in chemical equation using formulas for reactants and products. So first I'll write NaCl, which is in aqueous state, plus AgNO3, which is also in aqueous state. Okay, and what I get is silver chloride, so AgCl, which is a precipitate. Remember, precipitate means I will put a downward pointing arrow along with sodium nitrate, NaNO3. This is in aqueous state or liquid state. Okay, now this is a chemical equation. I have written all the symbols, the states, precipitate, each and everything. But we are coming to the most important part of the chemical equation, and that is balancing of chemical equation. Just now I told you the mass of the reactants and mass of product is same. That means the atoms of the reactants and atoms of the products will be equal. That's the first concept you have to understand. Atoms on right hand side and atoms on left hand side should be exactly equal. Now here we'll check whether the atoms are equal or not. First of all, look at the atoms which are maximum in number. Oxygen, right? Oxygen here 3, over here 3. Correct? Balanced. Silver is 1 atom here, 1 atom over here. Balanced. Chlorine is 1 atom over here, 1 atom over here. Very good. Sodium is 1. So this equation is perfectly balanced equation. Okay, but we have to come across equations which are not balanced at all, and that I will teach you in the next topic.